Welcome back to the channel, Rare Coins History, Coin Collectors, Treasure Seekers, and History Lovers. Today, we've got something truly special for you. We're diving into a coin that most people would never think twice about. A coin you've probably seen dozens of times in your change jar or wallet. A coin that's small, silver in color, and often forgotten. Yes, we're talking about the Roosevelt Dime, but not just any dime. We're zeroing in on a very specific one, the 2005 Roosevelt One Dime with mint mark. It may seem like just another modern coin, but let me assure you, there's more to this little piece of metal than meets the eye. In fact, if you happen to stumble upon the right version of the 2005 Roosevelt Dime, it could be worth a jaw-dropping $35,000. So sit tight, because we're going to uncover the history, features, and secret varieties of this 2005 dime, and we'll reveal exactly what makes certain examples so rare and incredibly valuable. Let's begin with a bit of background. The Roosevelt Dime was first introduced in 1946, just 1 year after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. His legacy in leading the country through the Great Depression and World War II made him one of the most respected presidents in American history. But his connection to the dime also has a personal twist. Roosevelt suffered from polio, and he helped found the March of Dimes campaign to fight the disease. That's why, after his death, the U.S. Mint chose to honor him by placing his portrait on the 10-cent coin. The design, created by John R. Sinek, has remained largely the same ever since. On the obverse side of the dime, you'll find Roosevelt's left-facing profile, along with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the year of mintage, in this case, 2005. Also, right next to the date, you'll see a tiny letter. That's the mint mark, indicating where the coin was made, either P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. On the reverse side of the coin, the classic Roosevelt dime design features a torch in the center, symbolizing liberty, flanked by an olive branch for peace on the left and an oak branch for strength on the right. It's a beautiful, compact design, but what makes the 2005 version so exciting? Here's where things get really interesting. At first glance, most 2005 Roosevelt dimes look identical. But coin experts and collectors know better. Hidden among the billions of dimes minted that year are a few exceptional pieces, coins with either incredible condition, rare minting errors, or even unintentional varieties that drastically increase their value. Let's talk about minting errors, because this is where things get really fun. The U.S. Mint produces coins at lightning speed, thousands of coins per minute. And when you're minting that many coins, mistakes are bound to happen. These errors, while accidental, are highly sought after by collectors because they're one-of-a-kind or extremely rare. So what kind of errors might you find on a 2005 Roosevelt dime? First, we have the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank, called a planchet, is not perfectly aligned when struck by the dies. The result is a coin where part of the design is missing, shifted to one side. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, and whether the date is still visible, these coins can be worth hundreds, even thousands. Next, there's the double die error. This occurs when the die used to stamp the coin has been engraved twice at slightly different angles. The result? A dramatic doubling of the date, mint mark, or inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." These errors can be subtle or extremely bold, and collectors love them. Then there's the clad layer missing error. Modern dimes are not solid silver, they're made from a copper core with a thin outer layer of copper nickel. Sometimes, due to a minting mistake, one of these layers is missing, giving the coin a strange color or texture. If your 2005 dime appears all copper, or missing its outer shine, it could be a valuable error coin. Another big one is the proof error coin. In 2005, the San Francisco Mint produced beautiful, high-quality proof coins for collectors. These are supposed to be flawless, with sharp details and mirror-like finishes. But every once in a while, a proof coin is accidentally struck with the wrong dies, or even released into regular circulation. If you happen to find a 2005 S-proof coin with unusual features, you could be holding something truly rare. But the value of the 2005 Roosevelt Dime isn't just in errors, it's also about grade and preservation. Coins are graded from 1 to 70 on the Sheldon scale, and coins that are in mint state 67 or higher, especially with brilliant red and white contrast, can command serious money. These are coins that look like they were struck yesterday, no scratches, no discoloration, just perfect detail. So what can you do to find out if your 2005 Roosevelt Dime is valuable? First, grab a magnifying glass or a coin loupe. Look closely at the mint mark, date, and letters for signs of doubling or errors. Then, examine the coin's surfaces. Is it shiny, clean, and well preserved? Or does it show wear and tear from years in circulation? If your coin looks special, it might be worth sending it to a professional coin grading company like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can dramatically increase the resale value of your coin and give you proof of its authenticity and rarity. And here's the part you've been waiting for. In recent years, a 2005 Roosevelt One Dime with a mint mark, featuring a rare minting error and preserved in exceptional mint condition, was sold at auction for a breathtaking $35,000. Yes, you heard that right. $35,000 for a single dime. Imagine finding that kind of value in your pocket. Change. It sounds like a dream, but for some lucky collectors, that dream has already come true. So, the next time you're handed change at the grocery store, or you open that dusty old coin jar sitting on a shelf, don't ignore the dimes. Take a closer look. You never know what rare treasure might be sitting right under your nose. Today, we're diving deep into a coin that many people overlook, a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but in rare cases, can be worth a small fortune. We're talking about the Roosevelt One Dime from the year 1991. That's right, the tiny 10-cent coin that's been passing through hands for decades may be more valuable than you ever imagined. Especially if you happen to find the right version, with the right mint mark and the right minting error. Some of these dimes from 1991 have been discovered to be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and in one shocking case, a single example fetched a staggering $44,000 at auction. So how can such a small, everyday coin be worth so much? What makes the 1991 Roosevelt Dime special? And how can you tell if you have one of these rare and valuable pieces hiding in your coin jar or pocket right now? Stick with me, because we're about to uncover the hidden details, the secrets of mint marks, the shocking errors, and the surprising value that turns a dime into a true collector's dream. Let's start with a bit of background. The Roosevelt Dime was introduced in 1946, shortly after the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was not only one of the most impactful leaders in U.S. history, but also closely connected to the March of Dimes campaign to fight polio. In his honor, the U.S. Mint replaced the Mercury dime with the Roosevelt Dime, and it has remained in circulation ever since, with only minor design changes. The 1991 Roosevelt Dime features the standard obverse design, Roosevelt's left-facing profile, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God We Trust," the date, 1991, and the mint mark, which can be found just above the year. That mint mark tells you where the coin was produced: P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, or an S for San Francisco if it's a proof coin. On the reverse, you'll see the familiar image of a torch in the center, flanked by an olive branch and oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. But it's not just about the design, it's about the minting details, and that's where things get really exciting. Now, let's talk about why the 1991 Roosevelt Dime has caught the attention of collectors across the country. Most people don't realize that while billions of dimes are minted each year, not all of them are created equal. Some coins, due to rare minting errors, die varieties, or unusual characteristics, become highly valuable in the world of numismatics. So what exactly makes a 1991 Roosevelt Dime special? Let's begin with minting errors, because these are often the key to unlocking a coin's unexpected value. First up is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin is struck while the blank, called a planchet, is not properly aligned. The result is a lopsided design, where parts of the lettering, Roosevelt's head, or the date are missing or cut off. Depending on how dramatic the error is, and if the full date and mint mark are still visible, such a coin can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Next, we have the double die error, a collector's favorite. This type of error occurs when the coin die is engraved twice, creating a visible doubling effect on the date, inscriptions, or even Roosevelt's facial features. If you spot doubling in the word liberty or in God we trust, hold on tight, you might be looking at a rare gem, then there's the wrong planchet error. In some cases, a dime may accidentally be struck on a planchet meant for a different coin, like a penny or foreign coin. These are incredibly rare and highly prized. One of the most fascinating possibilities is a missing clad layer. Modern dimes aren't made of solid silver. Instead, they're composed of a copper core and a thin layer of copper-nickel alloy. If the outer layer is missing on one or both sides, the coin will appear dull, reddish, or even entirely copper-colored, very different from the shiny silver we're used to seeing. This mistake can turn an ordinary-looking dime into a rare collectible worth thousands. Now let's not forget about proof coins, specially made for collectors with mirror-like finishes and sharp details. In 1991, proof Roosevelt dimes were struck at the San Francisco Mint, marked with an S. These coins are never meant to enter circulation, but every once in a while, one does. A proof dime found in circulation, especially with errors or in high grade, could be incredibly valuable, and speaking of grade, coin condition matters a lot. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, perfect example. A mint state, MS, 67 or higher Roosevelt dime from 1991, especially with no scratches, full torch lines on the reverse, and beautiful luster, can command an excellent premium, even without errors. Now, how do you know if your 1991 Roosevelt dime might be worth something? Here's what you should do: check the mint mark, look right above the year. A clear P, D, or S gives you clues about where it was made. Inspect for doubling, use a magnifying glass or coin loop. Look at Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. If any letters or numbers appear doubled, that's a good sign. Look at the edges and color. A copper-colored dime or one missing its clad layer may be worth a second look. Examine for off-center design. Is the design shifted to one side? That could mean an off-center strike. Check the condition. Is the coin shiny, crisp, and free of wear? The higher the grade, the higher the value. And finally, if you think you found something special, send it to a professional coin grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate and grade your coin, which is essential if you want to sell it for top dollar. Now, here comes the most amazing part of this story. A 1991 Roosevelt dime, struck with a rare mint error, preserved in exceptionally high condition, and certified by a top grading service, was once sold for an unbelievable $44,000. Yes, you heard that right. $44,000 for a 10-cent coin, and guess what? There could be more of them still out there, sitting in drawers, change jars, or pockets, waiting to be discovered. So next time you come across a 1991 dime, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. Because that small silver coin could be your ticket to a huge payday. Today's video is going to open your eyes to something that many people carry around without realizing its true potential. Imagine holding a tiny 10-cent coin in your hand, one that you might have received in change at the grocery store or found in an old jar, and discovering that it could be worth thousands. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, get ready to be amazed. Because in today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most underrated and overlooked coins in your everyday pocket change, the 1980 Roosevelt One Dime. Yes, that little silver coin that most people never give a second thought to could actually be worth a small fortune, if you know what to look for. That's right, the 1980 Roosevelt Dime may seem like just another coin from the past, but certain versions of this coin, especially those with rare mint marks, unique errors, or perfect condition, have sold for incredible amounts at auction. And one specific example has shocked collectors around the world by fetching an astounding $48,000, but before we reveal how that's possible, let's rewind and take a look at the fascinating story behind this little coin, the minting process, the mint marks that matter, and the rare features that can turn a simple Roosevelt dime into a jackpot find. So let's begin with a bit of history. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away the year before. Roosevelt was a beloved figure, admired not only for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II but also for his personal battle against polio. He supported the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fund research for a cure and eventually led to the development of the polio vaccine. To honor his legacy, the U.S. Mint replaced the Mercury dime with the Roosevelt design. Since then, the Roosevelt dime has remained a staple of American coinage, continuing through the decades with only minor changes to the composition and finish. The 1980 Roosevelt dime features Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, with the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," the date 1980, and the all-important mint mark, which appears just above the date and near the neckline. On the reverse, you'll find a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength, accompanied by the phrases, United States of America, One Dime, and E Pluribus Unum. But here's where it gets really interesting. In 1980, these dimes were minted at multiple locations: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark, for proof coins. The vast majority were produced in Philadelphia and Denver for circulation. The San Francisco Mint produced special proof coins intended only for collectors. Now, most of these coins are still worth just 10 cents today. However, not all 1980 Roosevelt dimes are created equal. There are a few rare versions out there that contain unusual errors, variations, or exceptional condition that make them highly desirable among coin collectors. And that's where their true value lies. Let's take a look at the key characteristics that can make a 1980 Roosevelt dime incredibly valuable. First up, minting errors. Errors occur when something goes wrong during the minting process. In some cases, these mistakes result in coins that are totally unique, one-of-a-kind pieces that can command enormous prices at auctions. One common and valuable error is the off-center strike, where the coin was not aligned correctly in the press. If you have a 1980 dime that is missing parts of its design because it was struck off-center, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible, then you might be looking at a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Next is the famous double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin was engraved twice, slightly misaligned, resulting in a doubled appearance on the coin's letters or numbers. If you ever find a 1980 dime with clear doubling on words like Liberty or In God We Trust, or even on the date itself, you could be holding a rare treasure. Another possible minting flaw is a die clash, where the two dies strike each other without a blank coin between them, leaving behind ghost-like impressions of the opposite side. These are rare and collectors love them. And then we have the missing clad layer error. Dimes minted after 1965 are made of a copper core with a nickel coating. Sometimes, a coin is struck without the nickel layer, revealing a red or copper-colored surface. If you find a 1980 Roosevelt dime that looks like it's made of copper instead of the usual silvery color, don't ignore it. It might be missing its clad layer, and it could be worth a great deal of money. Let's not forget the wrong planchet errors, where a dime is mistakenly struck on a blank meant for another denomination. Imagine a dime struck on a penny planchet. That would be small, copper-colored, and highly collectible. But even without errors, there are other factors that drive up value, especially condition. The grading scale for coins runs from 1 to 70, with 70 being a flawless, mint state. Example. Most coins in circulation today are far from perfect. They've been scratched, dented, worn down by time and use. But if you manage to find a 1980 Roosevelt dime in pristine, uncirculated condition, you're in luck. Collectors pay huge premiums for coins that have been professionally graded as MS-66, MS-67, or higher. The sharpness of the design, the brightness of the finish, and the lack of any noticeable blemishes all play a role in pushing the price up. Some of these flawless dimes have sold for several thousands of dollars on their own, even without errors, and when high grade meets rare error, that's when prices explode. So what should you do if you come across a 1980 Roosevelt dime? Here's a checklist. Check the mint mark. Is there a D, S, or no mark at all? Inspect for errors. Look closely at the lettering and numbers. Use a magnifying glass if needed. Look at the coin's color. Does it appear copper or oddly colored? Check for signs of misalignment. Is the coin's design off-center? Examine the condition. Is it clean, sharp, and nearly perfect? And if your dime passes these tests, the next step is simple. Get it graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. These organizations can officially verify your coin's authenticity and condition, which is critical when it comes time to sell. And now, here's the moment you've been waiting for. One extremely rare 1980 Roosevelt Dime, struck with a combination of a mint error and preserved in mint state condition, stunned collectors and dealers when it sold for an astonishing $48,000. Yes, you heard that right. 48,000 US dollars, for a coin that originally cost just 10 cents. Imagine finding that in your change. Imagine pulling it out of a box of old coins from your childhood. It's the kind of discovery that makes collecting coins such an exciting and rewarding hobby. So before you toss that pocket change into a tip jar or a vending machine, take a second look. That little Roosevelt dime from 1980 could be your hidden treasure, just waiting to be found. Today, we're diving into one of the most overlooked coins in your wallet, a coin so common, yet potentially so valuable, it could change the way you look at your spare change forever. We're talking about the 1981 Roosevelt One Dime, yes, that tiny silver-colored 10-cent piece that most people wouldn't give a second glance. But here's the secret: under the right conditions, this dime can be worth a fortune. If you think finding valuable coins is just about old dates or shiny surfaces, think again. Sometimes, the most valuable finds are the ones hiding in plain sight, coins from relatively modern years, like 1981, that carry something extra, a mistake, a flaw, a minting miracle, or simply extreme rarity in high condition. And today, we're going to explore exactly what makes the 1981 Roosevelt Dime so special, and why one of these coins sold for an astonishing amount, an amount you'll want to hear, so make sure you stay with us till the end. Let's start with a quick background. The Roosevelt Dime was first minted in 1946, just after the death of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was not only a pivotal figure in American politics but also deeply connected to the March of Dimes, a charity campaign to fight polio. In honor of his legacy, the U.S. Mint placed his profile on the dime, replacing the earlier Mercury design. Since then, the Roosevelt Dime has become a staple of American currency, produced in billions across several decades. The design has remained largely unchanged, featuring Roosevelt's profile on the front, and a torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the back, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. Now let's zoom in on the 1981 issue. In 1981, the U.S. Mint produced Roosevelt Dimes at three main locations: Philadelphia, with no mint mark; Denver, with a D mint mark; San Francisco, with an S mint mark. Proof coins only, so you may find a 1981 dime with no mark, AD, or an S depending on where it was minted. Most of these coins are standard. But some, due to rare minting errors or extraordinary preservation, have become highly sought after by collectors worldwide. Let's get into what makes some 1981 Roosevelt dimes worth far more than face value. Point 1. The power of mint errors. First, let's talk about errors. In the coin collecting world, errors are gold, sometimes literally. They occur when the minting process doesn't go as planned, and the result is a coin with a striking difference that catches the eye of expert collectors. Some error types that make 1981 dimes extremely valuable include off-center strikes. If the dime was not perfectly aligned when struck, you'll see parts of the design missing or shifted. A 40 to 60% off-center dime with a visible date and mint mark can be worth hundreds or thousands. Double die obverse. This is when the die used to strike the coin is engraved improperly, causing a noticeable doubling of the design elements like the letters in Liberty or the numbers in the date. If you spot a Roosevelt dime from 1981 with doubling on the front, don't spend it. It could be a jackpot. Clipped planchets. When the blank metal disc used to make the coin is clipped or incomplete, it creates a curved bite out of the coin's edge. These are rare and can be very valuable. Missing clad layer. Roosevelt dimes are made with a copper core and a nickel outer layer. If the outer layer is missing due to a mint error, the coin may look coppery, similar to a penny. These are rare and very collectible. Wrong planchet errors. Imagine a dime that's mistakenly struck on a penny or foreign coin blank. These errors are incredibly rare and often fetch thousands in the collector market. Point 2. Condition matters. The MS game. Not all valuable coins have errors. Sometimes, it's all about condition. Coins are graded on a 1 to 70 scale by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. A coin in mint state 67 or higher, which means it looks brand new, with virtually no flaws, can sell for far more than one in average circulated condition. For example, a standard 1981 dime from Denver or Philadelphia might be worth just a dime if it's scratched or worn. But if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition and graded MS-68, its value could skyrocket. Proof coins from the San Francisco Mint are also highly desirable, especially if they're graded PR69 or PR70 deep cameo, meaning they have strong contrast and no imperfections under magnification point 3. Rarity and demand, the market factor. The world of coin collecting is always changing. Rarity combined with demand creates value. The 1981 Roosevelt Dime might not seem special at first glance, but as more collectors enter the hobby and seek out high-grade or rare coins from the late 20th century, the value of unique dimes like this one continues to grow. Even coins from more recent years are beginning to attract attention, especially as mint errors from the 1980s and 1990s become harder to find. So now you may be asking, how do I check if my 1981 Roosevelt Dime is valuable? Great question. Here's your checklist. Look for a mint mark. It should be right above the date on the front. Check for any doubling on letters or numbers. Observe the edges. Are they clipped, odd-shaped, or misaligned? Compare the shine and color to other dimes. A missing clad layer will make it appear reddish or copper. Examine the coin for perfection. If it looks untouched, it might be worth grading. If anything seems off, unusual, or perfect, it's worth getting checked out by a grading service. You never know what treasure you're holding. Now for the part you've all been waiting for. Among the rarest 1981 Roosevelt dimes ever discovered was one with a significant die error, struck off-center and in brilliant mint state condition. After being verified, graded, and sold to a private collector through a reputable auction house, the final price was nothing short of stunning. This tiny 10-cent coin sold for a jaw-dropping $50,000. That's right. $50,000. All from a coin you might overlook, sitting right now in your piggy bank, a pocket, or a forgotten jar. So the next time you're counting coins or digging through a drawer, don't rush. Take your time. Flip that dime over, examine the details, and remember what you've learned today, because you just might have a small treasure worth a massive fortune. Thanks for watching. If this video opened your eyes to the hidden value of coins, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our rare coin reveals and collecting tips. And as always, check your change, because one small coin could hold your big discovery.